From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where the England women's team has a new captain announced in Nat Siva Brunt. And she's probably also the first international captain, or at least certainly the first England captain to be announced whilst on maternity leave. Her partner is the former England fast bowler Catherine Siva Brunt, and they had their new baby a month ago. So double reason for them to celebrate. Nat now teams up, of course, with the new coach, Charlotte Edwards. The new era is now about to begin.
Ali, Brett Sprigg for the ABC, filling in for Jim Maxwell. And we've had so much rain here in Sydney, you'd think we were playing a test match. Of course, the next time we'll see Australia is in the World Test Championship final next month. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Doggett is in that Australian squad. He had an impressive Sheffield Shield campaign, 11 wickets in that final for South Australia, and now enjoying a brief stint at Durham under fellow Aussie Ryan Campbell. So I'll be watching that space.
Double congratulations to Nat Siva Brunt and Charu Sharma for Akashvani, but now in Dubai for the rest of the IPL. And that juggernaut keeps rolling on with some spectacular performances and some rather forgettable ones.
I'll tell you what, though, we are going to be celebrating not one but two India record breakers in this week's show. But first, with the county championship in full swing, the Gloucestershire captain, Cameron Bancroft, has told us on Stumped that he's still hoping to play for Australia again, 6 years on from his last appearance. Now, he hasn't featured for his country since the 2019 Ashes, which came off the back of him serving a 9-month ban from cricket for his role in the 2018 infamous Sandpapergate scandal. Now, Bancroft was banned after he was caught on camera rubbing the ball with sandpaper to make it swing. Captain at the time, Steve Smith and David Warner, were banned for a year each for their part in the incident. So I've been chatting to Bancroft, who's playing for his third different team here in the UK, and I started by asking him what is it about the county championship that keeps him coming back?
It's really funny. In the last game, we played on a really challenging wicket here in Bristol, and Van Beek, the overseas bowler, he just walked past me and he said, "Do you love cricket?" It was such a random thing to kind of say, and I was like, "Yeah, I do love cricket," and I think I feel like that's sort of the privileged kind of opportunity that I've been able to have as a player, is being able to play in Australia, but also, I've been lucky enough to get the opportunity to, play in this great country as well. And I just feel really grateful and fortunate for it. So cricket's a sport that I won't be able to play forever. And I guess being able to make the most of the opportunity and to really enjoy my career, playing county cricket is a big part of that. And I love the season. It's very different to Australia. Play lots of games. It's nice to be able to play all formats and be here for the whole season, because the way the county kind of schedule works, there's so many ebbs and flows, and I think it's important to live and be with all of those elements. So that's what keeps me coming back, as well as trying to achieve some success along the way as well.
And you've got Cameron Green with you there at Gloucestershire, a fellow Western Australian. He had a brilliant start too, didn't he, with that 100? He's obviously looking to get back into the Australian Test side. Is that in your mind as well, Cam? So I know last year you said that you really wanted to represent your country again.
Oh, yeah, look, I think that's, of course, that's definitely something that motivates me. I just try and go about my business and enjoy playing wherever I am, giving my 100%, to each ball, each moment. And, I know the way that cricket works, that, the whatever's best will come. So, it's still a driving force, but of course, I'm just looking to enjoy my cricket and do my best.
I know you've gone through all sorts of learnings throughout your career. I would just like to ask how you dealt with last Australian season, because you had dominated 2 seasons of Sheffield Shield cricket. You'd been sort of banging down the door, if you like, for selection when there wasn't a gap with Khawaja and Warner in place. Then Cam Green gets injured, Steve Smith dropping back down the order. The Aussies need an opener alongside Khawaja for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And then the form just seemed to go away when you really needed it the most. And I think a lot of people really felt for you, particularly watching the Australia A game when you got a chance against India A. Did you feel that was your chance? And just wonder, how did you deal with that, just knowing how well you had been performing the last 2 years?
Yeah, look, I guess timing obviously wasn't great, but also the reality is, like, form comes and goes. Runs comes and goes. Like, that's just cricket. And
you're quite philosophical about that.
Yeah, because, I think, my first like 3 innings in Shield cricket, I faced 7 balls and got 3 ducks in a row and nicked every single ball that I faced. That happens. I mean, how many times is that going to happen in your career? Probably not a lot. You get a couple of bad decisions and, you hit a nice shot and it gets caught somewhere and you kind of, sit down and you try and analyze things. And of course, as a player, you're always looking to improve and stuff like that. But also sometimes, fighting with the elements is really draining. So, of course, I would love to scored 100 in every game, in every game that I play. But, that isn't always going to happen. I think what's important is just, despite it, keeping your energy levels up, trying to keep a smile on your face and riding with the times, it's kind of important. So, look, that wasn't my opportunity, but, it doesn't mean that it won't be in the future. So, we'll see and keep enjoying, keep playing, give them 100%. And I think that's all you can do really at the end of the day.
Yeah. What communication have you had with Andrew McDonald around all of that? Because I remember at the time that Australia A, India A match was sort of almost billed in the media as a bat off, for that test spot. But, there's still a World Test Championship final. The opening partnership is not exactly nailed down at the moment. Do you have ongoing sort of communication with the coach?
I have never spoken to Andrew McDonald at all. And
ever?
Yeah, he's never spoken to me either. So I'm not 100% sure. But understandably, his focus has been with the Australian team's been out, and that absolutely makes sense. So I've never had that communication. I've only ever spoken with the selectors and things like that. So I guess that's been how that process has kind of gone the last few years, especially since he's been in charge.
I find that quite surprising to hear. Is there ever anything in the back of your mind which thinks that 2018 and Cape Town has anything to do with it?
I like to think not. But in saying that, I've just been, I've just been just outside that kind of environment. And the coaches have obviously, they've been focused on the team and the players that are being kind of involved. It's obviously difficult to communicate with everybody. And that's just the way I guess that the team environments kind of go and processes work sometimes.
Well, let's hope that at some point a phone call might come from the coach and there might be another Australian appearance for you yet. Cam, it's been really great to chat. Appreciate you giving us the time on Stumped.
No worries. Thanks very much.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on Akashvani.
Now, cricketers in India often garner global recognition when they do something special, and there might be no current player more deserving of acclaim than 14-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi. We have spoken about him a number of times on Stumped already, including when he hit his first ball in the IPL for 6. But his hot start has become a blazing inferno, with him becoming the youngest centurion in all men's T20 professional cricket. But that is not all, because his 100 was smashed off just 35 balls, jaw-dropping for anyone. But at the age of just 14, the great Chris Gale is the only player to have hit a faster century in the 18-year history of the IPL. The results, incidentally, saw Suryavanshi's Rajasthan Royals beat Gujarat Titans by 8 wickets in that match. Charu, it's the fastest 100 by any Indian in the IPL. Tell us a bit more about him and his potential, where he could go.
I think all fans of cricket, and certainly Indian fans, are still reeling at what they saw. It was just magnificent. 11 sixes. I think something like 94% of his runs were scored in boundaries. Just phenomenal. And to think that he's only 14. Phenomenal talent. Fearless completely. And of course, coming from a part of India which is not really known for producing lots of cricketers in the past. And, quite a bit of a rural upbringing, really. And the usual stories surrounding success these days of those who come in from other parts of India, where there's been a lot of parental sacrifice, and with the mother waking up at 2, 3 a.m. to make some food for him so that he could, of course, maintain some kind of, diet on his way to practice, and his father giving up his job and getting a little piece of land where he could practice a bit. And these are, heart-wrenching stories about how he's come up. And at that age, you'd struggle to find his village on a map. It's that small. And for him to have moved up from there into a bigger town and then on to Patna, which is the capital of Bihar, it's just, mind-boggling. And the way he takes on, say, somebody like Jofra Archer in the nets, fearless. The fact that he still has a very level head on his shoulders, a credit to his upbringing. He's still very humble and very respectful. No trace of the arrogance that you see sometimes in younger cricketers coming from major cities. So there's a lot of good around him. And I do hope he's looked after well in terms of the obvious riches that are to follow.
Brett, I mean, the buzz that's been created around him here in the UK is phenomenal. I mean, I've been quizzed by people who I'd say are not into cricket at all, but they've heard about this 14-year-old in the IPL, or their kids have watched on YouTube and they're saying, Mum, Dad, like, who's this kid and how's he doing it? Has the same sort of buzz been created in Australia?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I remember his name coming up when he played against Australia in some youth tests at under-19 level, and he was apparently 13 then. This would have been last October, and the Aussie bowling attack were all 18 or 19. I mean, that alone, if you've ever been a little kid filling in for your older brother or sister's cricket team facing older, faster, that can be intimidating. But he punted 58 ball 100 at Chepauk that day. And while I took note of that then, I had no way of knowing, none of us did, that we'd be talking about him plundering one of the greatest and fastest hundreds in IPL history. I've been asked during my rounds a few times on the ABC what this all means, and I must admit, I don't fully understand it either. When does he play for India? Like, even if we wait a few years and he debuts at 18 or 19, which is still very young, is there a chance he plays sooner? Help me out here, Charu, because I don't know what to make of all this. When do we see him play for India?
There's a lot of protectionism as well. And a lot of the seniors have said that, listen, don't fast track him because, yes, there's a Sachin Tendulkar, but there are many other names that are being traced back now who started rather early in the Indian team and unfortunately fizzled. And there is a call now to hold on despite his obvious precocious talent and to not perhaps blood him till he's maybe 18 or 19. Now, you might say from his perspective, if he's playing so well, better than the rest, why not now? But maybe international pressures are different and the IPL is a very different kettle of fish. So I suspect not before he's 18 or 19, which is still a distance away, despite his obvious achievement.
And it really struck me, actually, seeing who his batting partner was at the other end during this 100. Of course, Yashasvi Jaiswal, who himself was the incredible story of Indian cricket and his Test match debut at, relatively young age, but his story of having, made those journeys into Mumbai, sleeping on tents in the Medan, and then yet it's not very long that another new kid comes on the block and kind of sweeps Jaiswal aside, and he's the new sensation. I mean, that's the depth and the amount of sort of as yet untapped talent which is there in India, Charu, isn't it?
Without question. I think there's already Jaiswal is somebody who's getting a little frustrated not being given bigger roles, perhaps even captaincy, who alone knows. But I think it's an even bigger story, Jaiswal, because of the fact that he uprooted himself from his family and went to this big bad city where it was very troublesome for him to try and get by. Luckily, he was saved by his coach and so on and so forth. But I don't think Suryavanshi's story is quite so heartbreaking. It's just a phenomenal rise from a very, very small village in India to what he's done. But I think they have a lot of stories to trade, these two, and will certainly become heroes. So many more to come out from the much smaller towns of India, hungry and ready for it and ready to work really hard to get on top.
And it's been interesting, Spriggy, sort of listening to the how has he managed, Suryavanshi, to hit this innings. 14, people are saying, is it his power? Is it timing? And I thought Katie Martin on commentary in the moment of it all was very good at sort of trying to help explain to the listener how it's happening. She was noting, the cocked wrists. I've read other commentators looking at the high backlift, and he idolises Brian Lara, which you'd think for his age group, you'd think, well, how much of Brian Lara did he see? He wouldn't have been born yet to see the great Brian Lara play, but that's where the wonders of social media and YouTube comes in.
Absolutely, and that's the thing you see in players that aren't probably as physically gifted by way of size and so-called long levers and all the rest of it. It's the timing, it's the placement we see. And we probably don't tend to think about the T20 format as being so kind to players with those attributes. We talk about great timers of the ball in Test cricket and all the rest of it, but absolutely, you mentioned a few examples there. I mean, it just goes to show any player, any age, any size can find the boundary and exude power, even if they probably don't have the same sort of physical presence. It's all about the timing.
Well, I tell you what though, Vaibhav Suryavanshi isn't the only rising India star at the moment breaking records, because India's women are playing a tri-series against South Africa at the moment, and Pratika Rawal has become the fastest woman ever to reach 500 ODI runs. Now, she's been opening the batting and reached this landmark in just 8 innings, breaking the record of 9 innings that was held by Charlotte Edwards, England's former captain, now coach. She set that record back in 1997, so it stood for a long time. And in those knocks, Rawal has only failed to pass 50 twice, and she made a massive 154 against Ireland back in January. I mean, Charu, tell us a bit more about her story, and do we expect to see her in India's World Cup squad later this year?
Well, the answer to the latter is for sure, because India have an opening problem, and we'll see whether Pratika can solve that. For the moment, she does. I think the only cruel blow for the moment in her short career has been the fact that just when she got chosen into the Indian side, which is not easy at all, because a lot of women are now playing for their side, so the number is written, the bottom of the pyramid's pretty wide, she wasn't picked up in the WPL. That must have hurt. But she carried on and, of course, has done exceedingly well, as you said, a record breaker earlier in her life. Now, 1 or 2 innings one can understand, but the sustained level for the last 8 innings, now you may say it's too much, but 8 is a lot of innings, for her to have done well continuously is quite phenomenal. She's got a wonderful coach. They talk a lot. And she realized that she was rushing everything to begin with, including her cricket, her speech, everything. So one of the many things that they kind of identified is, Pratika, just slow down. Everything, your thought, your speech, your actions, and she did. So she's a learning kind. She's wanting to improve all the time, and she listens to people around her. She's still very humble, and there's everything wonderful about this young lady. She's only 24, so, a long way to go for her, and I hope she continues to star for India. But the best part is that she's not averse to listening to everybody else and improving all the time, and admitting to do so, rather than being somewhat introverted, as many cricketers tend to be, saying, well, I'm the big one here, I'm the big shot, so who are you to talk to me? And she's a wonderful personality as well, so I'm so glad she's doing well.
It's another good story, that's for sure. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped for Akash Varney. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sports, and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well by going to the BBC World Service YouTube. My thanks to Charu Sharma, to Brett Sprigg, and to all of you for listening. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akash Varney.